So let's pull up Robert Wilson from Boxo USA and Cam Douglas from Optima Batteries. Robert, there he is.
Yay.
So for those of you who don't know, Robert and I worked together for about 8 years at Lucas Oil. Robert left to start his own agency, Round 2 Designs, which he does. He's on the sponsorship sales side and sponsors seeking side, and he knows what brands are looking for. But he also is the marketing or the strategic partnership director at Boxo USA, the tool company. So Robert can tell us about that. Cam Douglas is the marketing director of Optima Batteries. Robert and Cam have worked a long time together back in the Lucas days, and Cam is the brainchild of the Optima Ultima Streetcar Challenge that Robert activated at Lucas Oil. Rob, Cam, how you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah, doing great, Alex. Thanks for having me on.
Looking forward to it. So this call, and I thank you both for joining. I know it's both your first times, but you're aware of what we do. Is the goal is to educate the racers on the call. Why do brands sponsor and what do they look for? Let's go real quick. You've sponsored a lot of companies, or a lot of series, I should say, a lot of racers. What is it that Optima looks for when it goes to sponsor something? Just overview, and then we'll go into detail later.
Yeah, I mean, the end game obviously is for us to be associated with somebody who helps us be a memorable brand when it's time to buy our product. I mean, that's in a nutshell, right? There's a lot of steps to get there, but that's the end result. Yeah. Our product is different than, Red Bull, Monster, which, they would hope would be maybe a daily consumable item. My product has a long purchase cycle. So I'm just hoping that I can be top of mind when it's time to purchase a battery. So I need help being memorable at that time of purchase.
Interesting.
If I was good enough to say that I had a way of finding out when everybody's battery was going to fail, I would need that help. But that's what I need help with, right? That's what I'm looking for.
So that's like Geico. Geico, that you see them flying the planes all over and pulling the flags. You're not out running buying insurance all the time, but when you do buy insurance, Geico wants you to remember them being top of mind. That's interesting. Robert, how about with you with Boxo? Is it top of mind? Because, buying a tool set, and they can be quite expensive. It's probably not something that you do frequently.
Well, I think it's the same. That end goal is always to be top of mind. For us, we sell direct to consumer, which is a little bit different than Optima. Optima does sell directly from their website, but they have a large distribution model that they go through. So we're looking for somebody that's going to help us on those sales too, and use our product. And same thing, we want them to use the product, and then when their followers see that and they're using it in real life, then they're going to want to have it.
What are some examples of some teams that you sponsor right now?
Well, I mean, we have, individual racers to just normal influencers. Ricky Carmichael kind of being one of the bigger ones in motocross, and he's not even racing right now, but big influence in it. Right. Then into the Star Yamaha team on, active racers. They have a large team, and that's on the professional side. And we go all the way down to the 4-year-old kid that's just starting his journey and is going to be at Loretta Lynn's that we're going to be at here at the end of this month. So the gamut is pretty far. Blake Wilkie, we do some work with Cletus McFarland, so that it's a big scope. For us, anything that has a nut and a bolt, that's our customer. And if you start to think about all the different industries, it's really hard for us to hit all of them. So power sports is a big market for us, and then the streetcar market.
That makes sense. And then when you do sponsor a team or a racer, a driver, what is it that you want them to do for you? Is it putting a logo on the helmet, the suit, and the car or the bike, or is it more than that?
It's definitely more than that. Again, for Boxo, I mean, we want that brand recognition, but more so in today's day and age, it's more about social media and them posting about us, them using the tools. Same thing, whether they're in their garage. If you think about, somebody that's races score these days, right? I think they have 5 or 6 races that are throughout the whole entire year. So it's great to get that content 5 or 6 times out of the year, but they're working in their garage and their team is prepping that vehicle probably 250 days out of it. So really getting across to them, it's always difficult. It's always difficult for somebody, especially working on a vehicle, to stop and take that, that short video or that image. But that's something that really helps us out to be able to share the message.
That's cool. And then Cam, how about you? I know that Optima just launched a new line of hypercore lithium batteries for the power sports industry. Robert was talking about power. How is it that you're seeking representation to promote the new line through?
Yeah, it's through a variety of ways. And one of the neat things for us is that a significant amount of our ambassadors are also power sports aficionados, whether it's the Von Gittin team, the RTR group, Tanner Faust is with Polaris, and Chris Pulvorde, he's, got Polaris as well. And so we're looking for, genuinely people who are, again, likable, trustable, and use our product and use it again throughout the year. I mean, they've been using our product for the last 12 months that we've been testing it. And
so I'm assuming using the product, I don't know if he went dead there on everybody. Using the product is important, but probably showing that they're using the product is important. Is social media and creating content a pretty valuable aspect of this?
Tremendously. Yeah. I mean, that's where the world is today, right?
It really is. What do you look for when your teams or series or everything you sponsor, when they're creating media? Because you got everything from race teams, which are grassroots, individual level, all the way up to the highly televised Optima Ultimate Streetcar Challenge. That's a huge range of sponsorships there. Are there different requirements and different things that you're looking for from a team versus a giant TV production like the challenge?
Yeah, the Ultimate Streetcar Challenge is more of a branding exercise for us.
Okay.
The sponsorships with our ambassadors are much more, there's a lot of how-to, there's a lot of education. We continue to repaint the ship every 60 to 90 days, where we're looking for the most commonly asked questions, right? So our ambassadors are getting, they get tired of it over and over again, but it's important. What's the difference between red, yellow, and blue? And now we throw in orange, right? What are the differences in the colors is the most commonly asked question. And if we can get help with that, and then we work on the next one. How do I recharge a deeply discharged Optima battery, right? And then, so we're education for customer satisfaction is huge for us.
That's interesting. Education. So I like that, because a lot of sponsorships are based around exposure and visibility and activation. But here you're actually educating or asking your representatives to educate their customers and their fans, your customers, about the product. What are some good examples, or do you have a good example of a way one of your brand ambassadors has educated populace and it led to more sales?
I lost most of what you said, but you were asking for an example?
Yeah, give me an example. Yeah, an example of a team that did a great job. Like, for racers on the call, if they want to copy a team who's been successful and made you happy, what should they do?
Yeah, I mean, the guys that, I happen to be here in the Weiss Tech office today, so I'll use them as an example. But we just did and this was real life content with our new orange top battery. One of the features is that it has a feature called Optima CPR. And basically what that is the battery will shut itself off when it's being, if you leave your lights on overnight. But in the morning, you'll come and the battery shut itself off. You can push a button called Optima CPR. It comes back to life and gives your vehicle one more start. So this happened out at Glamis with the Wistek Polaris Razor R that we raced at Nora, but it was sitting out there with the lights on, dead. He did it with his iPhone, walked up to it, pushed it, and fired it right up.
Nice.
So that's a real life education on how this wonderful feature works. Right?
Nice. So in your case, and I'm going to go to Rob in just a second and ask the same question. In your case, Optima, a battery is usually under a hood or it's inside a panel, so it's not something that's very visible. You probably rely a lot on logos and then the testimonials to spread the word. What has been successful? Is it big ass, entitlements, or just a lot of social posts that are these educational features? And then Rob, I want to go to you with yours. I'm assuming it's just seeing the tools in use in the pits, but why don't you go first, Cam?
Yeah, you're right. And one of the trouble or challenges for us, and similar challenge to Robert, get to paste our product out on the fender of the vehicle, right? BFG gets a wonderful sponsorship every time, even when people are buying their tires. So that's kind of a neat deal. For us, the product's hidden. So having recognition that an Optima battery is inside is important for us. So having that logo on the vehicle, absolutely.
Right.
As far as you brought up another question, and I want to make sure I answer it, but what was the other part of that question?
That in terms of the education, how do what's the conveyance method, the delivery method? Is when your teams are educating others about Optima, is it just word of mouth? Is it through social posts? Is it videos that they're producing? Are they creating YouTube shorts? What are they doing and that's effective that a racer on the call could do for their brands or potential sponsors, knowing that it works for Optima?
So every single one of those that you mentioned is important. And it happens differently in each one of those venues, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, each one of those, you get an opportunity for a short message or a long message. And it all depends on how you want to convey it. Like we're working on a longer format educational video on our orange top battery. That's basically a manual in video format in chapters. So somebody can go to each chapter and say, okay, I know how this works. And then we'll have our ambassadors each take a chapter, right? Or multiple chapters. So that's huge. That's one example. But I can tell you, we're at events and we're at multiple events every weekend. And having that one-on-one contact with people outside the digital world is extremely important as well. Sometimes that's extremely important to those, they're all influencers, right? So it's extremely important we get that message across on a one-on-one basis as well.
I like that, how each individual does a chapter. That's interesting. Yeah, because they could have different applications.
We'll see how it works. We think it's, other people have done it. So it's not like we're coming out with something crazy new, but I hope it's successful.
Right. All right. So then, Rob, how about you? What's the best way that your brand ambassadors can represent Boxo? It seems to me like it's pretty obvious using the tools in the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of ours mirrors what Cam was talking about, so we have two different elements, either prepping in the shop or in the garage. Being in the pit, it's much easier to show the tools in use at that point. Once we get onto the track, I think then we start to rely a little bit more on the logos. We do try, some of our kits are smaller. We have rolls and bags that can be mounted, and sometimes we try and have our racers mount those in locations where they may be seen. That's pretty difficult in most cases. Once they're racing, technically we don't want them to use tools. If they're using tools, then something's going wrong with their race. If the hood's open and the car's not starting, with an Optima battery, we don't want to see that, right? So once the race is going, then we rely on the logo. Although the logo to us is probably the smallest piece of the puzzle, but I guess it really depends on what aspect you're talking about. But yes, for us, just like Cam was saying, even the educational, side of it, for us, we have EVA foam where every tool's in its place. It's easy to get to. If you're talking about a chase team, whether it's, or, pit crew, where time is of the essence and there's multiple people on that team, they need to find that 10 millimeter. More than likely, the 10's already going to be missing. But, it's very imperative if they come into the pit that they're able to open the drawer, see the markings visibly, grab that 10 or that 15, go fix what they need to fix, and then put it back in the box for the next time that it comes around. So that's huge, for us.
And I know you also take sponsorship a step further, where you actually encourage your representatives to sell the product through affiliate program. Can you go into that and describe how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. So through our website, we set up an affiliate program. We get inundated with sponsorship requests every day, as I'm sure Cam.
How many do you get? How many did you get?
I would say on a daily basis, as you go from email and DMs, it's probably 50 per day.
Wow.
And I think just like probably anybody that's going to be on this call, as big as the brands might look, there's probably either one person in the marketing department and upwards of 4, if best case scenarios. It's next to impossible to answer or see any of those. So we came up with this affiliate program for a place for people to start. Again, because we sell direct to consumer, we've always given our influencers promo codes. So a custom promo code that then they can shout out, via a social post or on site at a race. And then their people can get a discount. So now they are giving back to their fans by giving them a discount. And then we also give them the opportunity to make a commission on that, via the affiliate program. So a certain percentage would then go back to them. So we kind of negotiate that into the sponsorship too, because our budgets aren't huge. So there's only a certain amount that we have. Luckily for us, a lot of people need tools to be able to work on. So then we can do some product trade, right? And then everybody comes to us and says they're the best, right? You guys are going to be able to retire next week because I'm going to give you so much business. And before, it was really hard to track that, really hard to figure out how that works. With these promo codes, it's really easy for us. Everybody's set up with a dashboard. They have full exposure of it. We have full exposure of it. And, a lot of times those guys say, hey, we're the best guys ever. And we go back the next month and they've done nothing. The guy that we don't even know that just kind of went in and signed up on the affiliate program, or same thing, we got that email, could you sponsor us? And we set them to that place. They've done 10 times the amount. Again, that's pretty important for us. So I'm going to pick up the phone, or our marketing team's going to pick up the phone and reach out to that person and really start to, foster that relationship even more.
So Boxo is a relatively new company compared to some of the industry standard, tool companies.
Absolutely.
What does a sponsorship look like for a younger brand? So the younger brand, obviously much younger than Craftsman, let's say. What does a sponsorship look like?
Yeah, and again, the company is very small. Been in the States for 7 years. It's a global, global company. Our sponsorship budget, again, perception, it's my job in the marketing department to make the company look much larger than it is. So perception out there is that we're a bazillion-dollar company, where again, it's really small. We're in our infancy. We're not a Snap-on or some of these other brands that have millions of dollars. It'd be fun if I had that budget to play around with. So we're very strategic, again, on what we do and who we connect with. And again, what product for us, again, it's product centric. So what are we going to be launching? So what are we going to be looking for? We're really well known in the off-road and power sports industry, but again, boating, we just came out with a boat roll.
Nice.
We have adventure bike stuff. We have motocross stuff. We have a whole, Harleys, you name it. Again, like I said, snowmobiles is on our list to do. We get all these requests, and again, it's just putting a priority to it.
Nice. Well, I tell you what, in the off-road community, I'm seeing Boxo everywhere. Every event I go, you're not only there in presence, the brand, but also on several of the teams. I see it everywhere. So you're doing a good job of that.
Thank you. Just like Cam said, for us, the best thing, again, you have the people through our, athletes, our ambassadors that may just have the spontaneous buy. We get a lot of that. But in the tools, a lot of times people want to touch and feel it. If you're somewhat educated on tools, you may want, so we're at those events. We want people to pick up the ratchet and spin it and feel that it's 90 tooth. It's very fine.
Yeah.
I always know when somebody comes up and they're kind of that next level of tool person, because they'll grab that ratchet first. Next thing they'll do is they'll grab one of our box end wrenches and feel the quality of it. And at that point, we know how to start speaking to that person and about our value.
Nice. It's premium product. Then let's go to Cam. Same thing as Optima batteries. Optima is a premium battery, obviously. What does a sponsorship look like for Optima? You're part of Johnson Controls, a much larger billion-dollar brand.
Yeah, and just to set the record straight, we're no longer Johnson Controls, we're Clarios. So,
okay, name change.
It's okay that Clarios is our new name. So I get beaten daily on accident.
You got to educate people, Cam, with it.
Right on. Well, so yeah, and what I do is just follow Robert around, and whatever Robert does is what we do. Actually, yeah, very and very similar. Sometimes, you know, our product is much different than typically what you see on the shelf when you walk into an AutoZone or a Walmart. So actually, you know, and we're, you know, affectionately known as kind of, you know, I use a red top in my car. It's not I use Optima, I use a red top, or I use a yellow top or a blue top. So having that product shown at different events is important. Having, you know, we're visual, so we like to use the colors in a lot of our ads and posts, and so I hope I'm answering the question.
No, you are. It's the way I see it is we have racers on the call who are looking to get sponsored by any brand that is willing to give them a chance. And if a racer on this call wanted to be sponsored by Optima, what could they do to attract your attention, or what markets might you be looking at? You just launched the power sports brand, or product. I'm assuming maybe you're looking for power sports racers. I don't know. Can you give some insight as to what you're looking for?
Power sports is very important. Yeah, power sports is very important to us, but all segments, just about everything uses a battery. The only market that we're not really involved with right now is aviation. But other than that, you know, just about everything marine, car, truck, and now power sports. And, you know, just like Robert, almost every weekend, we're at some type of vehicle show, whether it's overlanding or power sports or whatever it might be. The very best way to, you know, form a relationship is that I should have seen you within the last 12 months at one of these events, whether it was a race, if you're a racer, or, you know, just a regular automotive show or a cars and coffee or whatever. So the best way to get my attention is to come and make friends. So that's the most important thing. I have never sponsored somebody via an agent that sent me a deck, or that they personally sent me a deck, or that they found my phone number and they called me out of the blue. So it's never. Each one of our sponsors, or each one of our ambassadors or partners, or whatever you want to call it, whether it's on a product basis all the way up to making some pretty good checks, they've all been either referred by somebody that I trusted, or I knew them personally.
Right.
Prior to.
That's good. That's actually good to know. So you were, I kind of sensed that you were up to something when you joined the Motocross Sponsorship Summit call as an attendee last year. I was like, Cam Douglas from Optima is on the call here. Now, why is he looking? I kind of suspected you were doing something in power sports back then.
Right on. Well, and again, you know, I'll toot his horn again. As you know, I followed Robert's lead on that one, so he got us involved with Star Yamaha.
Oh, yeah, nice.
It's a great relationship this year.
Nice. Well, let's go to Robert then. Robert, I learned a lot from you at Lucas Oil. You were the lead when it came to Team Lucas and selling sponsorships there. You covered all the big accounts. What do you look for when you're looking for a team or a brand, or not a brand, a series to sponsor?
From the Boxo side, or
from Boxo?
from the
Boxo.
Boxo side.
And then we can also go, I want to talk about round 2 design.
Yeah.
I want to talk
Yeah.
on both sides of the equation here, because your experience on both ends of it. So let's talk first from the brand side, since we're there.
Yeah.
Have you ever issued a sponsorship to a team, or, just through a deck or a DM or an email, or do you also, like Cam, get to know them first?
I mean, relationship is the best way, again, because meeting somebody in person, it might be more difficult to do that. But same thing, if you know that we're going to be at an event, don't be scared. We're just normal car guys or motorcycle guys. We're not going to bite. Come say hi.
Right.
From a DM, you're never going to get sponsored, or at least from me or a bunch of companies I know from a DM. That's just not going to happen. I don't even care. I got a DM today from a very high profile racer that probably deserves a sponsorship, but it's not going to come from there. Maybe we'll start there, and if it's somebody worthy, then it's going to be an email, and then it's for sure going to be calls, because again, a deck's a deck. We've all gone through them. We usually see not too good ones more than really good ones. Yeah. And information changes all the time on it. Again, it's at the end of the day, it is going to be a relationship, and we are going to put our name and reputation. I'm going to put my name and reputation on the line, right? For Boxo, I'm going to go, no matter what, I'm not going to be the one that signs a check. I still have to bring it to the CEO or to the ownership group for them to sign off on it. But they put me in a position to say, we trust what you think, right? So it's going to be very difficult from a DM or maybe a couple of emails to really find out who that person is. So being able to speak to them either on the phone. I love talking on the phone. Emails and texts for me are secondary to it. Again, it's hard to really gauge somebody, from a text. So, and then you just have to be patient again, because again, you got to put yourself in our shoes, which most people don't. Again, just think about 50 emails and DMs, combined for our company. Cam's probably even, triple that because of how big their company is. The time is very difficult. And one thing I could tell you is be patient. Don't, if you DM and then we give you an email address to go to, and then the next day, or you email them, but you don't get a reply back. If you start DM and saying, I emailed, I haven't heard anything back. And then 2 days later, the DM or, email the thing, and they really start to get aggressive. And it's at that point, that's not good. So if I give anybody, a couple cents of knowledge, don't do that. It's again, because all this is going to be based around a relationship. If you tell me before I even talk to you that you're impatient and hot-headed, then that's not somebody we want on our brand, because there's going to be other times that I'm not going to be able to call you back, or somebody from the, from our places not going to.
And it's surprising just how frequently some teams or racers will do that. I've seen that a few times, and it's very surprising. You're reaching out to a potential sponsor, and before they even start dialogue, they start getting angry. And it's like, wait a minute, what's up there? If this is a hint of the future, then no.
And it's hard. Well, and everybody then you got to put yourself in their shoes. They are, or their team, their thing is the most important thing to them, but then they got to step out and think about that. They're not the only ones for us. Time might be of the essence for them. They might be getting ready for a race, or, Cam and I have had this where it's 2 days before SEMA time, right? And it might be the best car. It's going to win best of show or whatever at SEMA. Absolutely deserves to have a battery in it or a tool set in it. And we just need to know about that, and talk through that. Again, you shouldn't be reaching out to somebody if you only have a day or two or a week to get something in place, because it's going to take longer than that to ship it, right? For us to go through, pull the product and ship it out. And so kind of, forward think and think about your program and what it's going to look like.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So real quick, we have about 6-7 minutes left on the call. If anybody has any questions, chime in now. Tammy will put you up. In the meantime, is there one?
Well, Shane was asking.
Can you guys hear that? Is your mic on?
Yeah.
I
can hear.
Yeah, Shane was asking Cam if he could get the schedule of events so he can come out.
Shane was asking something.
He said, Cam, can I get your schedule of events so I can come and meet you in person?
Well, Cam's going to be at SEMA and PRI probably, right?
Yeah.
What, some of the biggest events?
What's the next race you're going to?
of events that you might be at here where somebody can come and meet you.
Oh,
Both
yeah.
of you guys. What's the next events you're going to?
And let me clarify too. It's not about meeting me. It's about meeting Optima. We go to, gosh, I think it's like 605 events a year, right? And so it's not just, I can't physically go to those. And I'm typically Southern California based, but last weekend I was at Dover in Portland.
Okay. Rob, how about
the next
you?
event I'll be to is actually in Portland. Pardon me?
No, go ahead. Sorry, you cut out there for a second. In Portland. What event is in Portland?
Yeah, the next one is the Optima Ultimate Streetcar Invitational, the series for that. And then Road America's the weekend after that.
Nice.
And then there's another Overland Expo in Denver. And then there's some fishing tournaments and there's all kinds of stuff coming up. But we do have a list of those, and I think it's pretty flexible, so we don't publish it. But all the good guys events we're at, and meet Jimmy or Wally or Jerry or somebody at the event and just come up and say hello. And I'd say, I'd like to get to know you guys. The best icebreaker is, I use your product and I love it, and I'd like to have a relationship with you guys. Right.
Nice. Robert, how about you? You got any upcoming events?
I think, well, yeah, our travel will start get crazy here pretty quick. We'll be going to Loretta Lynn's out in Tennessee. After that, we'll be going to all the Holley events out in Bowling Green, Kentucky. They have 3 events going on there. We'll be at Crandon, Sand Sports Super Show, Off-Road Expo. So, the show season's really ramping up now. And just like Cam said, it may not be myself. A lot of times you might even see our CEO at the event or our marketing director. Again, it's about coming up first and foremost. I mean, if you haven't touched and feel the product or seen, the new Optima orange top, it's really about coming and getting educated. We want, you need to touch and feel, or we want to hear your stories. If you are using the product, just like Cam said, there's no better testimony than, hey, I've been using your product for the last 20 years and all of my builds. I think every build that I've built for the last 25 years, I have reached out to Cam for sponsorship for a battery for my project vehicle or my race car, and told him what I'm doing and got a battery, and he knows the track record. Then it makes it a little bit easier to say, hey, he's got a track record where he's going to give us something back in return.
That's a really good point. Track record.
Robert has an Optima credit card. But that brings up a very good point. And Robert has always been a wonderful ambassador for Optima. Every car build he has, he uses Optima, and bikes he's starting to, test out our orange top product. Every single one of our relationships has started out with our partners using our product first. And they either came to us as a loyal Optima customer, and then, we work with them from there, or they came to us and said, we'd really like to try your product, and we're happy with a product only deal to get started. I have one team right now. They are world champions. They command serious, resources to run their program, and they have big sponsors, and we're sponsoring them for 4 batteries right now. We get a decal on the car, and we get a lot of social media, valuable social media and recognition as being associated with this team, but they're brand new. And, that's just the way we start.
Nice.
Typically. And I can tell you that we have had some people that are nowhere, not even in that category. They're just, hey, I'm a fast guy on time attack, right? And we've offered them a deal, and it starts out with product only, and they actually get upset. But it costs me money to go to these events. It's minimum. And I'm like, well, that's great. Maybe somebody else will help you out. But again, it's a little bit of that attitude, willing to grow with us, have a little bit of a honeymoon experience, right? So that bodes well for everybody that's hung out with us on a product only deal.
I like to say when I'm doing the decks and proposals presentation, you never propose to a company or a brand that you don't know yet. You need to get to know them first before you propose, because if you're going to start a marriage, business relationship, you better know them and they better know you. Robert, since you are a brand ambassador also for Optima and you have round 2 designs where you are a sponsorship seeker, what advice do you have? And then Kim, I'm going to go to you too. Last minute words of advice for anybody on the call seeking sponsorships. Robert, since you've been on both sides of the equation, when you're seeking sponsorships, what tricks and tips have you learned that make you more effective?
Well, I think it's always what you are going to do and what you are going to be able to bring to the table for that sponsor. And that goes both ways, right? If somebody is asking Boxo for something and we're going to give them a product, I need to know what they are going to be able to do for us. And then if you flip that and it's from our agency side, and I'm going to a big corporation and I'm representing a race series. We don't do a lot of individual racers, but it's the series. Now I'm going to be able to talk about the deliverables, the things that are also not down on paper. We do a lot of experiential things that people are going to remember. Get them in a race vehicle. When we were at Lucas Oil, we could put people in the helicopter or bring them into the TV truck to give that behind the scenes that you just can't buy, right? So it's really showing or telling people what we can give them.
Because experiences are memorable and fun experiences are even more memorable. Emmy says there's a question for Robert. And then after that, we're going to go to Cam's last words of advice. And then the session ends.
Okay.
Fast.
Yeah, Robert, someone's asking if you're going to be at SEMA and PRI.
I will be at SEMA for sure. PRI, I don't know as of yet. It gets cold and there's some white stuff that falls on the ground every once in a while, and I'm a little allergic to that stuff. But for sure
Robert
at SEMA, I'll be there. I'll be there the whole
city in the world.
Yeah, the whole week, and then at the Optima Streetcar Event Invitational. It's something that I look forward to every year. So from really setting up, Boxo will have a booth there. So please feel free to stop by the booth. If you want to come and help us set up, you'll start to grow a relationship and you can unpack some boxes. It's just a joke. But yeah, for sure be at SEMA, and then you'd have to connect with me on to see if I'll be at PRI.
Robert, it's a funny thing you said that about come help and unpack boxes, because I often say a great way to meet marketing directors is not at SEMA or PRI during the event when you're bugging them because the trade show is happening, but do it the day before when they're setting up and offer them a hand or offer them a beer. It's a great way to get to know somebody.
Oh man, we're letting our little secrets out of the bag. That's how if I'm looking for a certain sponsorship myself, but again, I think even Cam and I, it's so we mirror each other. We've been building project vehicles, Cam, longer than myself, but for a long time. And we seek sponsorship almost every year, for sure. Every vehicle that we do, we're on the other side. So it's really good to be able to see, again, just put yourself, on the other side too, is what I suggest to people, is look at it from both sides.
Yeah, totally agree. Robert, thank you. Let's go to Cam. Any last words of advice?
Yeah, so I kind of alluded to it a little bit before, but be willing to start at the ground floor, right? And be likable.
Yeah,
That's good.
Be likable. I like that.
And it's not. It really because if we get along well, if you're likable to us, I'm sure other people like you too, and we want people who like people, right?
That's true, because if they're going to represent the brand, that you want them to like the brand. The brand ambassador. Makes a lot of sense. Listen, Robert, Cam, thank you so much. That was awesome. Went too quick. I'm sure there's a lot more questions, but we can do those later in a separate session or email. Now let's queue up the agents.